Holy God. All right, so this week on How Did We Get Here, we're talking about DC's Futures End. Now,
we're talking about the Earth War, Earth 2, Earth...
Well, we're going to talk about that once we start recording, because that is totally a prerequisite to understanding. Prerequisite, yeah, that's the word. To understanding.
I knew what you meant.
I'm glad you did.
Yeah.
To understanding these 52 issues in 3 fantastic volumes. First of all, this could have been a 12-issue series, and it would have been. It would have been
you needed
perfect.
more than that.
No, you didn't.
There was a lot in there.
No, you didn't, because none of the Grifter stuff mattered. None of the 50 Sue stuff mattered.
Yeah, what happened to Grifter in Rebirth?
Isn't that a good question?
I know where he appeared in Wildstorm.
Stormwatch went away.
Well, he went to Wildstorm. I do know.
They're back in their own universe.
Yeah, they did their own universe thing.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure why they went to that. Anyway.
Because Gimli.
No, Warren Ellis said he wanted to do it again. So they're like, oh, here, whatever you want. You're Warren Ellis. I'll give you whatever you want.
But Wildcats, which gave us Grifter and Voodoo. And you know, maybe the thing I'm most pissed off, because Voodoo is sexy.
Yeah.
Voodoo is hot. You open that splash page of Wildcats #1, and there's Voodoo. Like, puberty started immediately for a lot of guys right there. Whoa! Some of you found out you were gay at that point. That's okay too, because they gave you lots of Grifter with his shirt off. But a lot of us were like, wow, Voodoo, I'm gonna marry a stripper.
So okay. Gotcha.
So yeah. So I'm going to rail for the next 30 to 45 minutes about all the problems with this, but it is actually awesome.
It's a very great series.
So,
I mean, it's Azzarello. Well,
yeah.
It's not just Azzarello. It's
Lemire,
Keith Giffen, Azzarello, Jurgens, and Jeff Lemire.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's everybody.
And yet their art is the same throughout. It's Ryan Sook.
Yeah, Ryan Sook.
Yeah.
That's what's really cool, having the consistently same art. It's got to be tough for the artist to actually have to deal with all these different people. Like, okay, what are we doing? Because they got to talk.
I just imagine he's like, shh, Lemire, shh. Azzarello is speaking right now. Yeah, no, this has been a very interesting read.
Keith Giffen.
And you know, I've got to say, I only ever originally read the first one of these.
Because you thought there was only one.
Because I thought there was only one.
I have all 52 issues somewhere in a box. I read those originally when they first came out.
I have 48 of the 52 now.
Do you really?
Yeah,
wow,
yeah.
Okay.
I found them at yard sale or something.
Wow.
And was just missing the last few.
Cool.
So let's.
For some reason, like the last 4 are hard to find.
Yeah.
Because I think most
because
comic book
a big
stores
thing really happened.
Exactly. By the end, the comic book stores are like, oh God, try this crap. It's been 52 weeks. My God, let it go.
Yeah. Well, and this wasn't the first time DC had done 52 issues. We had 52.
And then we counted up to 52 and then counted down to 52.
Yeah, and then we did Batman Eternal.
Yeah.
Which was going on at the same time this was going on. Oh, God. Such a bad thing. All right. Hi, guys. I'm David.
And I'm the Magic Man, Garin.
I feel like that's a stripper name or something.
I was trying something different. Okay, it didn't work.
The Magic Man,
Magic Man
Garin.
still doesn't work. Okay.
Do a trick.
I will disappear.
It didn't work.
Damn. Okay. I tried.
If you're the Magic Man, you better know card tricks or something.
I really don't.
I do. I wanted to be a wizard, and I found out I couldn't.
I
be a
really
wizard.
don't. Okay.
So I became a magician.
So fine, I'm not the Magic Man.
I take your name.
Fine.
You just gave yourself away.
You can take what you.
All right, guys. So if you're already bored 39 seconds into the episode, don't worry. We're going to be talking in great detail about DC's The New 52 Futures End.
Epic. 52 issues.
52 issues. Comprises 3 trade paperbacks. This is some dense reading, man.
Yeah, I think it's there's one hardcover.
Yeah, I figure it's about $125.
Yeah, that's a compendium. It's one of those big monsters.
Yeah, like if you like having big fat books on your shelf, that's a really cool big fat book to have on your shelf. I bought these from smaller comic retailers who had them, except for the top one, which I actually got it was a library copy that someone retired. See, no longer property of King County Library. Hey, King County, got your book! Anyway, so, which actually did belong to a comic retailer online.
Yeah.
So I got that cheap. So life's good. I've been supporting my comic book retailers.
I know you have.
So, in this troubled COVID-19 related crisis.
And I, as someone who works at an LCS, we've had a lot of our regulars, a lot of our people that normally would come in on Wednesdays, who have supported us, and we really appreciate it. I've tried my best to buy. We bought comics from. I bought comics from TKO Comics Online, which is a smaller printer. I bought from several different online retailers because I know even a little bit here, a little bit there helps. So,
Yeah, a few bucks.
Yeah.
So, do not start with Future's End if you want to understand Future's End. I recommend you starting with Earth 2.
Yeah.
There is 6 trade paperbacks for Earth 2 in the New 52.
Yeah, Earth 2 is...
Which neither of us read.
No, Earth 2 didn't seem interesting to me at all.
Well, it is an Earth that has Thomas Wayne as Batman.
Right.
It is an Earth that has... I hate to just call him Black Superman, but he is.
Well, and we'll talk about it in Multiversity as well. Because
Yeah.
in Multiversity, you see there's anyone who's ever read Multiversity, you know there's a key. Literally, there's a key where they've got all the universes all kind of laid out. All parts.
That was
of
one of the.
multiverse.
That was one of those posters that I wanted. Was the white background with all the spears.
Because, man,
And then I never laid my hands on it. So I had a fold out copy that I got from the shop. Maybe I've got it somewhere still.
you probably do.
Probably have to frame it. Anyway, so when I get our office and recording space set up, it will be hanging there.
Yeah.
Even if we're to buy another one. So I recommend you start with Earth 2. Read volumes 1 through 6 of Earth 2. So that's 72 issues.
Right.
And then read Earth 2 World's End, which is just 2 parts. Spoiler alert. If you just want to read Earth 2 World's End, it preludes.
Let's be fair. These are all spoiler alerts. We're spoiling every single book we're reading. So you don't have to read them if you don't want to. That's what we're doing.
Yes, you do. Read them. Read them, read them, read them.
We're spoiling. We spoil things.
So, Earth 2 World's End, Apocalypse destroys Earth 2.
Exactly.
Apocalypse wins.
Right, and
kills Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman.
But the survivors escape into Earth 1 or is it Earth Prime? It's not Earth Prime.
Earth Prime.
Earth Prime.
Earth Prime.
Okay, yeah. So they escape into Earth Prime, which is the main storyline that we know.
Right. Which is probably why we're not hearing about this other stuff like Grifter and Rebirth.
Right.
Is because Rebirth is one reality.
Yeah.
Or at least up until.
Well, and even in Rebirth, we know that there's multiple realities. There's things missing in Rebirth that we'll talk about when we get to the Rebirth, because we'll do a Rebirth special as well.
So we're gonna refer. This is gonna be an important one when we review Doomsday Clock again.
Yeah.
And we do the Doomsday Clock special, which we said we need to do for a long time, because the thing that created the New 52 is undone in Doomsday Clock.
That's right. Yeah.
So actually, everything we're talking about the New 52, technically is an Elseworlds,
Right.
because it happened.
It could re-exist again.
Right. It happened and then it was taken away. So the New 52 opens on 35 years in the future from the New 52 era.
Right.
It opens on Terry McGinnis
Yeah.
as Batman Beyond with Bruce, and Bruce is actually...
Does he call himself Batman Beyond? He just calls himself Batman.
He's just Batman.
Okay.
But I'm going to differentiate...
We think of Beyond, right?
I'm going to differentiate Terry McGinnis as Batman Beyond
Okay.
because that makes it really easy instead of saying Terry Batman and Bruce Batman.
Okay, gotcha.
Batman Beyond.
Okay, which is Terry McGinnis. Gotcha.
Yeah. Terry can be your only Batman if that's what you want.
No, but I'm just saying.
Thomas is my Batman.
Well, I'll tell you, Thomas. Yeah.
Which is the whole reason I ordered 6 volumes of Earth 2, because I need more Thomas Wayne as Batman.
Vicious Batman. Love
Even
it.
if it's Thomas Jr., and I don't know that that's the case, but
I think it is Thomas Jr.
I am totally for reading it.
Yeah.
So
Anyway,
it opens on the future, and these, how would you describe them? Squiddy,
yeah,
multi-legged
yeah,
creatures, robots, have made cyborgs out of most of the other heroes.
right. So Brother Eye
Brother Eye
has turned the heroes into these.
cyborgs
Yeah.
that are under his control.
Right.
And he keeps enough of their anatomy to have their powers.
Right.
And it really opens on an effort to try to stop him. And I forget who all was there. Flash, which is old man. Flash, Captain Cold, and one of the lanterns, John Stewart, Green Lantern, are trying to basically destroy Brother Eye.
Right.
And they get John Stewart, which means Flash and Captain Cold are doomed, and they go running back to try to save everybody.
Right.
Flash gets back to Bruce and Terry
Right.
just in time to say, "Hey, this failed," and Bruce is like, "It's cool, I got this."
Yeah.
Because time travel, bitch.
Because
time travel.
We're gonna send Terry back.
Yeah. Well, originally Bruce was going to go back himself.
Right.
And Brother Eye attacks using Green Lantern. They take Flash.
We all knew Bruce wasn't going to go back.
Right.
It's like we've read comic books long enough to know that Terry's young, and in this he isn't really young. In this, he's in his late mid-20s.
Yeah.
So he's still fairly young, but not.
He is a seasoned Batman.
He's
He's
not the year one.
You would assume all of the Batman Beyond cartoon has happened at this point.
Exactly.
And to be fair, this is the first time you see Batman Beyond, Terry McGinnis,
Right.
in comic books.
Right.
They had never done, in main continuity,
Not main continuity.
they had done Batman Beyond comics.
It had his own regular comic book, but
Right.
it wasn't in part of main
And
continuity.
it was more the animated series style. This brought him into main continuity
Right. As an actual legitimate.
character, which is, by the way, why I loved it. I'm like, Terry's real.
I'm sorry, and as an animated series go, there's offshoots people have done before, but this was the best offshoot of a main continuity that was not a comic book originally.
Okay, so I'm going to say Batman the Animated Series is probably the greatest comic book animated series of all time. I would take it over.
Spider-Man.
I would take it over Ultimate Spider-Man. I would take it over X-Men '95. I would take it over
Spider-Man. The Spider-Man animated series from the '90s was, in my opinion,
pretty good.
the best. But the animated series, the Bruce Timm animated series, is truly one of the most amazing things ever created.
So I'm going to say Batman the Animated Series is like top of the pyramid.
But it gave us
and Justice League isn't as good, but it's pretty close. But Batman Beyond is like that step right under the animated series. It was a different art style and a different theme, and it gave us totally new content,
totally new characters,
totally new characters,
totally new content, but also gave us something really, really cool as a young Batman again.
So Future's End brings Terry into the main continuity, 35 years in the future. Bruce is back in a suit trying to stop Brother Eye, and Bruce gets killed.
Right.
And for those of you who are listening on the
Quote, unquote.
podcast, there are air quotes here.
Quote unquote.
He gets killed.
Right.
So Terry gets shot back in time, and Alfred is dead.
Right.
And so the AI in Terry's suit is Alfred. Bruce has programmed him to be very much like Pennyworth.
Right.
And so
Alfred's dead before Terry took over.
Terry comes to 5 years in the future of current timeline, and
He goes back 30 years.
The first thing he realizes, talking to Alfred, we've missed it. Brother Eye's already online.
He didn't go back far enough.
And if you read World's End, where it left off was Brother Eye pulling the escapees from Earth 2 to Earth 1 or Earth Prime, and them landing, but they're followed by an army of parademons.
Right.
And I mean an army of parademons. And Batman had activated Brother Eye to help stop that war. So Terry's too late, but Terry's now in the current 5 years current of the time.
Right, exactly.
And then we go to this other crazy storyline. So there are so many storylines of Future's End that don't matter. The Firestorm storyline.
They have a lead point and just stops.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's
the Firestorm story. So McGinnis' storyline is primary,
right?
Because that's Brother Eye and that whole situation.
Right.
Firestorm story is important. So Ronnie Raymond and Jason Roush, not Martin Stein, are Firestorm.
And you know why?
No, I don't know why.
So Ronnie Raymond was killed as Firestorm several years earlier in the comics, and Jason Roush was a student at the time, and Jason took over the Firestorm mantle completely accidentally. It was like You remember
So
when?
he was the Black Firestorm.
Yeah. Do you remember when Jaime Reyes took over as Blue Beetle, the kid Blue Beetle?
Yeah.
It's the same concept, same exact thing. It was completely. It wasn't by
Next
his
generation.
choice. Exactly. But he was a good Firestorm. He
Right.
had less doubt than Ronnie, because Ronnie
Was a meathead.
He was meathead. He did not understand anything, but Jason was already a student. Jason knew.
Oh, and not only is he a student, he's a very good student. He's a clever student. He knows what's going on.
He understands this
So
transmuting.
how does it end up being Jason and?
See, that I don't remember.
Okay.
Yeah, because Ronnie was dead, but after.
Well, I'll be damned. Ronnie came back.
But after Blackest Night, they all came back. You remember Blackest Night?
I do remember Blackest Night.
They all came back at Blackest Night.
They did come back in Blackest Night. So
that's the big deal, and of course we had Deathstorm at that point. So.
Yeah, Deathstorm's so cool. So anyway, the story starts on Firestorm. Ronnie Raymond's basically a womanizing hoe.
Oh yeah.
And he's sleeping with this chick, random piece, and Jason goes to him, busts in on him, hooking up with this chick in a department store, and is like, "Hey, the JLA rang. We got to go save people." And he's like, "Dude, you're being a little rude. I'm gonna finish what I'm doing." And then they fly out and they find Oliver Queen dead.
What they believe is Oliver Queen dead.
They find Oliver Queen, air quotes, dead, end air quotes. And so the League freaks out. They have a funeral for Ollie. Animal Man speaks. Animal Man's a big part of the New 52.
Oh, he was in the 52. That was a big deal.
Yeah.
I mean, that's when that's when the Grant Morrison run had just ended, and that's like, Animal Man is a huge deal.
Huge deal. Yeah. So the Firestorm story starts on Ronnie Raymond, because Jason's going to expose that Ronnie Raymond's a douchebag.
Right.
Ronnie's just like, "Good luck getting out. I'm the one with the body. I'll imprison your ass.
Yep.
Oh, by the way, I'm going to go hit on some chicks." Now that's some creepy, like, subtextual.
That's some next level. Yeah.
Like,
next level.
you're going to have Nookie as Firestorm and make this dude watch. Like, that's twisted. So he traps Jason inside the Firestorm Matrix for like 3 weeks. And when he finally lets him out, like, Jason wants nothing to do with him again.
Right.
And for most of the rest of the book, no Firestorm.
Right.
And then there's the Coal Cash Grifter storyline, which could have been left totally out of the book. Yeah. Guys, I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it. I love Grifter. I have loved Grifter since Wildcats issue 1. Grifter is one of my all-time favorite characters.
And by the way, we're still talking. Jim Lee still wants to do a Grifter's book.
Yeah.
An actual Grifter's book an actual Wildcats book. He's in charge of DC. He can kind of do what he wants now.
Yeah.
So I hope
Maybe
he does.
one in the future.
I hope he does. Yeah.
So, the Grifter thing, the Deathstroke thing, and the 50 Sue thing can be summed up in one little tiny thing. Cadmus went up to the Brother Eye satellite, gained control of Brother Eye from Batman and Terrific, unbeknownst to Batman and Terrific. King Faraday brings all the superhumans that he can capture from Earth 2 down to the island where they have Cadmus Labs, camouflage the island, and start extracting 52 different strands of DNA from their superheroes and create 50 Sue.
I'm seeing a pattern
Of 52 everywhere? Yeah.
It's weird. That's
so they
23.
essentially create. She can do everything.
Right.
She's essentially a god. I mean, she's ridiculous. She's that character from Batman the Animated Series, or maybe it was an episode of Justice League, where the little girl had the power of a god.
Batman has to basically hold her hand.
Yeah. And the story of Grifter does not matter throughout the entire thing, including at the end. Like, I'd love to tell you that half of this isn't completely irrelevant, but half of this is completely irrelevant, other than it was kind of cool to see someone chop off Deathstroke's head.
I thought Deathstroke died in...
Superman.
Wait, I thought Deathstroke died in...
So, my favorite part of this...
Wait, Deathstroke died in Forever Evil.
They killed Deathstroke a lot.
Oh, okay. So this was a different Deathstroke.
Well, yeah. This is
the Earth 2 Deathstroke. Ah, okay.
So
now I understand.
So Future's End, Superman is running around in a very different costume It includes a helmet with a face mask.
Right.
And Lois Lane has been, she receives this package. It has a red arrow, it has a little green triangle, and it has some coordinates. And she starts running down a story that leads her to Tim Drake, who the world, except for Batman, thinks is dead. Right. Thinks he died in the Battle of Paris,
right,
trying to save the world from parademons. What really happened was the Earth 2 version of Green Arrow, which is Red Arrow,
right,
and they have both arrows, which I think is really cool.
Yeah, and they team up.
And they team
Green
up.
Arrow,
They're buddies,
Red Arrow,
yeah.
And they team up, yeah. Because they're the same person.
Right. Right. It's two Ollie Queens. What
exactly,
the hell?
Yeah.
So
they're both buttholes.
They save Robin, and Tim Drake, Red Robin, decides to cover up his identity by pretending to be an amnesiac. So he strips out of the armor and pretends to just be a casualty during the Battle of Paris. And he creates this whole new identity for himself, moves to New York, and opens a bar as Cal Cochran, which is where Terrifitech is, which is where Terry is trying to infiltrate Terrifitech.
Right.
So Terry runs into Plastique, Key, and I forget the other guy's name. They're B-list like villains who are trying to break into Terrifitech for a score, and he joins in with them. The guy whose name I can't remember can sense magnetic fields.
Yeah.
And alter magnetic fields.
That's Proteus?
No,
I
don't know. He's goofy tattoo guy.
Yeah, I can't remember who he is.
Very edgy 90s tattoos is what I got out of him. So, long story short, Lois figures out from the clues that were sent to her by Red Arrow that Cal Cochran, owner of the bar, is actually Tim Drake. And she's about to expose him when she trips onto a news story that Superman ain't Superman.
No.
And I love that design for Superman. I love the closed-in armor and the face mask. Like, that's my favorite Superman armor of all time. Reminds me a bit of Eradicator.
Yeah.
But with a face mask. And
yeah, it kind of reminded me of that armor they did when in the animated series.
So he gets in a fight with Rampage, and Rampage lands a big blow, and you just see the chin down. And immediately I was like, that ain't Superman's chin. And, I expected it to be the Earth 2 Superman or something like that. Who is it? Tell me.
No, go.
Shazam! Because Earth needs
a
Superman so much,
they had to have somebody.
They sacrifice Shazam's identity and have him parading as Superman.
They have essentially the same powers.
Yeah.
One just causes lightning, but because he doesn't have heat vision, right?
Which is why he can wear the mask.
Exactly.
Because he's never going to do the Arctic breath or the heat vision. Yeah. He's basically punchy. And you can totally tell after you know who he is, if you go back and reread his dialogue, you can totally tell it's not Supes.
Because when you read the dialogue, you're like...
It's Billy Batson.
You can tell it's a kid.
Yeah.
It's not... Because Superman is much more mature than that. Much more...
Both Billy Batson and Tim Drake have aged.
Right.
They actually age them to their 20s.
Yeah, mid to late 20s.
Yeah. So, super fun. That whole storyline is a lot of fun, finding out that they always need a firestorm. They always need, but they don't always need a Batman.
No. And
something happened between Batman and Superman that is not told during the New 52.
But it is in the Batman-Superman run.
Yeah.
Because there's a Batman-Superman.
Batman tricks Superman into something.
Exactly. It's not World's Finest, but it is Batman-Superman. You gotta remember, too...
Well, World's Finest at that point in time is Huntress and Wonder Girl and Black Canary?
Yeah. Or Supergirl. No.
Or, I don't know. But
yes, it's Power Girl, Huntress, Black Canary. Yeah, I think you're right. I think that's what it is. But yeah, so... Yeah, Batman has notoriously pisses Superman off in a lot of ways. Rebirth is one of the only runs so far where Batman has not made Superman.
Yeah, they're not at odds.
No, in fact, they're closer now than they've ever been before, and that's Tom King. That's thanks to Tom King. That's a big deal. Because,
thank you, Tom King.
Because that Tom King run where he had them dressing up in each other's
Oh,
those
that was so
outfits.
good.
Yeah,
That was so good.
yeah. So that was pretty fun.
But that whole storyline of Shazam and Superman becomes important, and it's very key that we don't know where Kal-El is.
Right.
And it's John Constantine that goes and finds him.
Right.
John Constantine basically says that Brainiac is one of the primordial evils, and that all of the versions of Brainiac that Superman has fought up until this point are tiny little echoes of the greater whole,
right.
and that he's been testing Superman to find his weaknesses.
But this is where Superman Doomed comes from.
Correct.
Exactly.
And
so we see the actual Brainiac planet.
Yeah.
I mean, because it's a planet is what it is. So that's where, because the Brainiac isn't a person, it's an identity.
Yeah.
And what's interesting is if you read Legion of Superheroes, you would also know that Brainiac is a planet, essentially.
It's a big ship.
It's a big ship, yeah. So, but even the Brainiac 5 in Legion of Superheroes is a descendant of that Brainiac from that planet of.
So I really enjoyed the Superman run, and the Superman run picks up about halfway through with Constantine, and Constantine kind of walking him through until Brainiac shows up. At the beginning of the book, Stormwatch is destroyed.
Yeah.
And Stormwatch, like all of Stormwatch, is actually killed. You don't find out until toward the end that Hawkman.
And Martian Manhunter's part of that.
No, not at this point. Hawkman's part of
Hawkman's part of that. That's right.
Yeah. He doesn't become part of Stormwatch until after that point. Stormwatch is reformed under the Atom, who is now the leader of Shade and Stormwatch, because why not?
Because
But one of the most fun things is Frankenstein and Amethyst.
Oh yeah.
And Amethyst is scarred where Gemworld has fallen to the parademons. Constantine basically saved Earth by sending all of the parademons to Gemworld.
Right.
Every parademon that was left, he sends it to Gemworld, which you don't see here. But Gemworld has fallen to the parademons, so she's working for Shade.
Right.
She goes and recruits Frankenstein.
And this was Frankenstein was a big character in 52 in the Future's End.
As Frankenstein, agent of Shade.
Exactly. Yeah, he was a major character, which we haven't seen.
And actually, his run ended.
Yeah.
Just very suddenly.
Yeah.
So, the Frankenstein run, they go into space. They get Black Adam out of the Phantom Zone, which is apparently where Black Adam had been since. What was the one we just talked about?
Forever Evil.
Forever Evil.
Yeah.
So Black Adam got it when he died. He was actually banished to the Phantom Zone, and the Atom and Stormwatch bring him back to Earth, and he helps fight Brainiac.
Yeah.
Really, really fun read on Frankenstein and Amethyst. Frankenstein dies.
Of course.
Eventually, because of the nth metal from Hawkman's arm. Hawkman, of course, the nth metal resurrects him.
Right. And it does every time.
And the engineer was alive but was enslaved to Brainiac.
Right.
So Frankenstein, Hawkman, Atom, all of them, they end up going onto Brainiac's planet. Atom breaks them out along with Black Adam, and they flee in front of Brainiac, and that kind of brings them to Earth, where Frankenstein has been turned mortal, and then promptly dies. And then Amethyst basically says, "I'm going to go take back the Gemworld." Nah. Really fun. I'm trying to think what the there's one more thread I'm forgetting to pull. Oh yeah, Green Arrow. Green Arrow's alive and well. And Green Arrow has been on his island, which if you watch the Green Arrow TV show, his father created an island for him to give him the skills he's got.
Right.
And Green Arrow and Red Arrow and that whole crew attack the Cadmus. Yeah, Emiko, his sister.
Yeah.
Attack the island and free Barda and Miracle Man, who was possessed by Brother Eye, but because he's not human, it didn't take.
Nope.
Oh God, So good.
He's a god.
Yeah.
I mean, Scott
He's
Free
a
is
god.
a god.
Yeah.
He is one of the new gods. He is a god. Yes.
He is a god.
Yes.
And so he overcomes that. They bring Barda out of there, and Barda, it's Fury that decapitates Deathstroke.
Yeah.
And yeah, so good. Power Girl, though, who is Kryptonian, falls to Brother Eye, which I have such a problem with.
She's.
So finally,
There's been so many backstories with Power Girl. They cannot decide if she's actually Kryptonian or not.
Yeah.
Really, because she was Atlantean at one point. So, she is the messiest of all backstories of any of these characters.
So Superman goes back to Smallville, comes out with a Superman t-shirt, jeans, and boots, and a cape. And when
That's his Superboy outfit.
Yeah, which is the beginning of the New 52.
Which is Action Comics.
Yep.
Yeah, exactly.
Which I got that run. I'm really I've got the first 2 volumes, and I'm really excited to dig into them this week if I have some time. Dr. Polaris, who is at this time just a scientist, is trying to create transporter technology because his wife was killed in the Earth 2 war.
Right.
And he blames the Justice League. He figures out that Jason Rouse is part of Firestorm, and he goes to finish his transporter. Rouse rushes in and says, no, it's not ready. It'll kill everybody. No, you can't do that. At the same time that, I forget her name, Payne, Meg, I think, she runs in, or she had been kidnapped by him because her father sold secrets to the Earth 2 people.
Right.
And was a traitor and is in jail for it. Max Payne.
Right.
And Maxwell Payne. Anyway, so he kidnaps her and says, well, if the transporter kills you, you're a good test subject because you deserve it anyway because your father's a douchebag. Ronnie Raymond figures out she's missing, rushes in, trying to get Jason to form Firestorm and stop this guy. And because the thing explodes with all of them in there,
they become Firestorm.
She and Jason Rouse become Firestorm, and Ronnie Raymond is killed.
Right.
And then you find out his father's black. Yeah, totally weird. I was like,
Jason or Ronnie?
Ronnie.
I don't remember that part.
Totally happened, my friend. In the funeral.
I mean, it's not relevant.
It's just a weird, I did not realize Ronnie Raymond was ever biracial, and it's a weird, little standing
just
point.
A white D-bag.
Yeah, it's a white quarterback douchebag.
Really, but okay.
But yeah, no, they give him a biracial identity and talk about how his mother deserved better. It's a whole thing.
Okay.
So female Firestorm is born.
Yep.
Who basically is a complete idiot.
Who doesn't exist now in Earth either.
Yeah, who doesn't exist, I don't think, after this.
Nope.
Ronnie's dead.
Yep.
They talk about the Storm Guard, who was a Marine that was standing as the Parademons were coming for the White House, and he grabs a Parademon's belt, which gives him super strength, and he fights back, tears down the flag and throws it over his shoulder, and Storm Guard, because you couldn't call him Storm Watch because there was a team.
And he doesn't exist anymore either, if I remember right.
Brainiac shows up on Earth, and basically everybody except for Batman Beyond, Firestorm, who, oh, by the way, happens to conveniently be Tim Drake's girlfriend.
How convenient.
Conveniently.
But wasn't Stephanie.
Wasn't Stephanie.
No.
Was not spoiler.
No.
So it could have been spoiler because then it would have clearly been Tim Drake. They were so connected in the real world. So Superman and the Justice League and everybody goes after that. Meanwhile, Brother Eye has sent back in time a cybernetic hybrid of Joker and Batman whose head can turn 180 degrees.
Right.
One side's Joker, one side's Batman. Because Brother Eye realized if they just sent cybernetic Batman wouldn't go through with killing Terry, Batman Beyond. So Cal, Tim Drake, Red Robin, whatever you want to call him, he agrees to help Batman Beyond break into Terrifictech to try to stop Brother Eye from ever being made. Joker, Batman, Metal, Brother Eye hybrid shows up kills Batman Beyond. Terry's dead. Bruce, from the future in 35 years, told Terry, do not go to Batman, do not go to Bruce, because if Bruce hears that you're there to stop this thing, he'll stop you.
Right.
Bruce, current continuity Bruce, 5 years in the future continuity Bruce, sees Batman Beyond die. Tim Drake jumps in the suit.
Goes back in time.
And says...
Goes forward.
Goes forward in time.
Right.
Well, no, he goes back in time first.
Right. Goes back.
And then...
To stop Brother Eye.
To stop Brother Eye.
Back to 5 years that Terry should have gone back and didn't realize to go back to.
Right.
Right.
And then, as he's throwing down with the robot then, thinks he's won, thinks Brother Eye's offline.
Then goes back.
It shoots him all the way into the future, 35 years, where the suit's from.
Right.
He gets there, the Atom's waiting on him, the female part of Firestorm is waiting on him, and he's failed.
Right.
Brother Eye happened anyway.
Right.
So basically, Future's End did nothing except it launched the Batman Beyond series with Tim Drake, 35 years in the future, in his 20s, as Batman Beyond.
Right.
Which lasted, 20 issues before we got a return of Terry McGinnis.
Right.
And then we got Rebirth.
Right.
So, this is absolutely 52 issues, a completely insular story, all sorts of deaths, all sorts of really intriguing characters and concepts. None of it matters. The fun thing about reading this, and I encourage all of you to read this, is that some of the concepts, like Brainiac's larger form, like Terry McGinnis in the main universe. So is it Elseworld? No, well,
see, that's the thing.
So
it's self-contained, but it's not an Elseworld.
The reason it's important, if you haven't read World's End and this, then Convergence is stupid. Convergence brings back Earth 2.
Right.
It relaunches that continuity and restores characters to life that had been dead, recreating a universe, even though we've not had any Earth 2 comics since that time.
So you're saying, if I'm understanding you correctly, you're saying not only are we going to defend Convergence, we're going to make Convergence good. Convergence,
this is the Earth 2 World's End is the prelude to Future's End, which is the prelude to Convergence. And those things taken as a whole restore pieces of continuity that otherwise leaves the DC universe kind of screwed up. And what they were trying to do with Convergence is what they ended up doing with Doomsday Clock and Rebirth.
So you heard it here, folks. Convergence is the most reviled DC storyline in maybe ever.
But nobody was reading Earth 2.
But I think that was the issue. So, yeah, okay. So, yeah, next week, we're going to talk about Convergence. Next week, we're going to talk about the Convergence. And then after that, Multiversity. And after that, Rebirth.
Yeah. At that point in time, we've got to talk about the DC. We've got to spend an episode on Legacy, right. the single issue. We've got to spend an episode on Rebirth.
Oh, yeah, just the Rebirth issue.
DC Universe, issue 1.
Yeah.
And then we've got to go through the events. We've got to go through Metal. We've got to go through Doomsday Clock. And that should leave us pretty much on track. DC has been kind of caught up and explained.
So by the week of May the 18th, we should have new comics out. We'll have new comics out before that.
Right.
In the next 2 weeks, we'll have new comics that we both read. It may only be a few to review for DC, but we'll have a few.
Yeah.
And the next week, no, but probably after that. Every week after that, we'll have a small, like, hey, have you read this week? If you haven't, here's some catch up. Future's End was definitely a great book. I loved it when it first came out. But you're right. It was kind of...
It's an island, man. It is a middle part of a tale. I think it's a trilogy. I think it's a 3-part trilogy. Yeah. World's End, Future's End, Convergence.
Yeah.
And then, because you have these messy big timelines, Grant Morrison's going to fix it with Hypertime, Israel, everything is canon, Multiversity.
Yeah. Pretty cool.
We'll have to talk to Dale and see if he wants to join us for Multiversity.
Yeah, so now that we're done with this line, we'll start talking about... Well, next week we'll have more, obviously.
Yeah.
If you're not listening normally, you're just catching up, we have a big event coming next week. I'm not gonna tell you what's going on. There's a big thing coming on though, and if you're watching on YouTube but you're not listening to the podcast, please listen to the podcast. We're on Facebook, and you can find us on iTunes and pretty much every other thing out there you can possibly listen to. We have a big event coming next week. I'm not going to get any more than that, but we're really excited about it. So,
And if you didn't notice, I turned down the resolution ever so slightly, which hopefully will create smaller file sizes, or make it quicker and easier for me to upload, so that it didn't take me until Wednesday next week to get everything done.
That'd probably be good.
Maybe.
So you guys have a fun week and enjoy yourselves. Hopefully we'll.
Thanks for listening.
Thanks for
watching.
listening.
Is it Monday yet?
Is it Monday? Have fun, guys.